Mary Murphy, the senior editor for Realty Times Women in Business, Women in Real Estate and in the Men's Room with Murph. I'm also the founder of the Women's Wisdom Network, which is a support network for women helping women. I want to introduce you to a woman who's really helped me, for a lot of years. Her name is Miriam Valier. She is the superpower behind major people in the industry of real estate and abroad. She's an executive, visionary, success coach, strategist, superpower behind us all. But more than that, she never thought she would write a book. And she did. And it was, she adopted 2 Corgis in 2015. If you're not familiar with Corgis, they are adorable dogs. The Queen loves them. So if the Queen loves them, so do we. But one of the dogs showed symptoms of a genetic disease, and I'm going to let her say it. At the end of the day, she was so immersed in that disease, she wrote a book. And here it is. I am so proud of her. Another New Normal, Coping and Caring for a Dog with Degenerative Condition. Welcome, Miriam.
Thanks, Terry. It's nice to be here.
I will never forget the day we finally met. You had actually been the, what do you want to say, the superpower behind Verl Workman of Workman Success for many years, writing, organizing, and trying to glue him down to sit for just a moment for years and years. And we had talked and worked together for years, and we never got to meet. And then when we finally did that day in Utah, that sunny day in a parking lot, and you got out, I knew the voice, just wasn't expecting you to be bigger than me. But then again, everybody's bigger than me. One of the things that I learned about you is that, you are one of the most interesting entrepreneurial women I've met.
Thank you.
You work alone in a little place with bees and dogs and cats. Loving your heart. The only thing bigger about your heart is that you're a heart for furry animals as well. And so if one shows up in this interview, I'm going to be perfectly delighted about that. But tell us a little bit about what you do for your day job, and then we'll get into your book.
Well, I do a little bit of everything. Kind of the jack of all trades, providing virtual support services for small companies. Social media, accounting, website management, you name it. Editing articles.
Editing.
Yeah,
superb editor. Superb.
I do enjoy, writing blogs and editing for people. My goal with my company was basically, I want to change the world. I mean, I've always had a desire to do something impactful, and do, but I realized a few years ago, I was kind of a slow learner, but I finally realized, it's like, I don't have the personality or the skills. This is one of the furry friends visiting, to develop that fantastic invention, that's going to change the world, or, that cure for cancer. What I'm really good at is supporting other people who do great things. And so, I kind of stopped beating myself up for not being, that's other kind of person, and just let's just find the people out there doing great things and support them and help them run their business better.
Absolutely. And that is where I was going with that, because behind whoever's on the platform, there's 20 people behind them doing wonderful things that allow them and position them to do of high influence. And knowing you and knowing that your heart really belongs to things with a lot of fur, having actually visited and been involved with some of those babies. You wrote this book as a culmination of what you've learned for caring for rescues. And I want you to talk about that, because Zeke and Cody are your buddies right now. And that occasional tail you see is one of several cats. You find you're one of those nature girls. And you love that. And that's why I think you're flourishing in your new home there in Utah. But this book took considerable study and research. I mean, considerable, because the more you learned about the degenerative myelopathy, is that how I say it?
Yeah, it's a mouthful, and that's why we refer to it as DM. It's easier to say.
which of course to distinguish from direct messaging. But
right, well, yeah, exactly.
Here's the thing: it's a disease that is genetically predisposed. Is that correct?
Correct.
So tell us about what happened when you got your baby, your first one that had this.
Well, so I had adopted Sassy in the fall of 2015. And in January or early February of 2016, she actually tore an ACL. And because of her age, she was like 12. You know, my vet recommended not doing the surgery, but she had to be on crate rest for 12 weeks to allow the scar tissue around that joint to heal. And as soon as that 12 weeks was up, she tore the other side. So another 12 weeks of crate rest.
Okay.
And after that time period, I mean, so now we've spent half of the year with her literally only being able to go outside far enough to go potty and back in, not allowed to run, jump, anything. She just literally had to be quiet for 24 weeks. I started to notice as we were increasing her exercise that she was taking missteps. I mean, it's like she would place her foot, you know, one of her hind paws, she'd place it and then she'd kind of like lean over it, you know, I mean, or her legs would cross. And, you know, and there was just like kind of this sinking feeling, you know, that there was something really wrong. You know, I used to be a massage therapist, and it's like I know just enough about the body to, you know, to kind of hone in on things without, you know, being an expert by any means. But it's like I knew that what I was seeing was not what I was seeing when she tore her ACL, because that was like a, you know, pick up her leg and not wanting to put her foot down. This was just like literally she did not know where her hind foot was. And shortly after that, then her toenails started to wear unevenly on one hind paw. You could see where they were just wearing down from walking on the concrete, that they were, you know, they were rubbing. That's not normal. And so those kind of things started to suggest to me that there is a neurological problem. And that could be a back issue, you know, a blown disc, you know, I mean, just like with a human, you know, where you have a lower back problem that can, you know, make your foot numb. Dogs can have the same sort of, you know, issues. And with corgis especially, they have these really long backs, you know, like dachshunds do, and they're prone to back, you know, problems. But there was no sign of pain. So that kind of ruled out pretty quickly that it was a back injury. Of course, that the only way to really confirm that would have been an MRI. But I kind of just started to, you know, do my research of what else could it be. You know, I mean, I was trusting my instinct that it wasn't a back injury, because at no point did she show any pain if I palpated along her spine, or, you know, if she was rolling, you know, there was never any yelps of pain. You know, and as this is going on, you know, this is over, you know, a couple months of me just kind of like, what could it be? And then I ran across the references, especially with corgis, about this genetic disease, which is the canine equivalent to ALS in people.
And it's not limited to corgis.
No, no, actually, there are over 120 breeds that are prone to it. There's some top breeds though. I mean, it's kind of like the genetic mutation can happen in quite a few breeds, but it's the corgis, it's the German shepherds, the boxers, Chesapeake Bay retrievers, Kerry blue terriers. Those are some of your top breeds that have it. Bernese mountain dogs are also another one that.
They're also huge dogs. So
Yeah,
clearly you had to learn about the therapies for this to give them comfort. And one of them was water.
right. Yeah, I mean, so the challenge with this disease is currently there are no treatments available for it. Nothing. I mean, there's a lot of clinical trials happening right now where they're researching different things that could potentially, you know, delay the progress. But right now we literally have nothing that can treat a dog with this condition. And it's a fatal condition. I mean, they become completely paralyzed, and at end stage, their respiratory system shuts down, their organs shut down, just like it does with humans in ALS.
And I
Except,
know, I'm sorry.
you know, the only benefit of having a dog with this condition versus a human is that we actually can choose to let them go before it goes to ALS, you know, to that end stage. Where with humans, they, you know, they just, you know, we just have to let them live in a
I
trapped
know.
body. I mean, it's really
At the end
awkward.
of the day, though, it's a heartbreak, and I know that that's been very difficult for you because you were then on a quest to take care of dogs that had this as you got more and more into it.
Right.
And the water treatment, tell me what that, I mean, first of all, it looked like an enormous amount of work. I mean, you have to put a harness on them and
Yeah.
put them
So
in hydrotherapy.
yeah, so what the research has shown, and this has been primarily based on, studies with, people with ALS, but it crosses over into dogs, and I think we've seen enough dogs go through the hydrotherapy to know that it really is effective in, keeping their muscles strong. So what you do, I mean, it's like they go on a little treadmill that's in a tank of water, and a physical therapist is taking care of monitoring that. So you put the dog in a flotation vest, you walk them into this little tank, it fills up with water, and then they walk on the treadmill. And what that does, just like with people, if you've had a joint replacement, and you go into a swimming pool and you walk across the pool, for exercise. I mean, it takes the strain off of your muscles and your joints by being in the water because you're more buoyant. And so with these dogs, while they're losing muscle mass because of this neurological disease, that's affecting the nerve flow to their muscles. I mean, it's like the hydrotherapy is a more effective way of keeping those muscles strong as long as possible. And as they become weaker, where they wouldn't, I mean, like with Sassy, I mean, I was always amazed, she would be walking and falling on the ground because of her lack of strength in her hind legs, but she could still maintain her posture and walk upright in the water because the water was supporting her weight. So, so I mean, it really does allow them, to be mobile for a longer period of time.
And and I have to say that you, from really caring for dogs with this degenerative disease, you now have observations. Clearly, you're not a veterinarian, but you've accumulated enough information to help people if they have a breed or they notice these kinds of changes in their physicality that you can help them with certain directives. So tell us, what should we notice about these dogs first? I mean, obviously, if they're not walking correctly, that's going to be obvious. But is there anything in advance that you notice?
Well, so primarily the things a person needs to be aware of is as your dog gets older, you know, you're not going to find a 2-year-old dog with this condition, or even a 6-year-old dog. I mean, it's like if it happens when they're 8, 10, 12, so it's towards the, whatever breed, of course, the bigger dogs, it's going to occur a little bit earlier because they don't live as long. So, but you consider it an older age, condition. So, so that's the first thing. So if your dog is starting to not place its feet correctly, its legs are, a hind leg is, slipping, or, what they refer to as knuckling, where, I mean, when a dog places its paw, and walks, I mean, normally, pad down goes first, but with a dog with this DM condition, it's like if you turn their paw, imagine this is, sorry, I can't do a really good visual with my hand, but imagine that this is a paw that you have flipped, so that the knuckles are down. A dog without any neurological issues is going to immediately flip that paw back the correct way. But with a dog with DM, they'll stand there, knuckle down for 3 or 4 minutes sometimes before they go, oh, my foot's not where it's supposed to be. Oh, okay. So you'll start to see those kind of delays in how they move a foot. And it almost universally will start on one hind leg first.
Okay. And
So
you notice anything in eating habits or sleeping habits?
nope.
None of that. So it's
In,
more
in
observational.
yeah, in the early stages, it is just completely just one hind leg kind of has a mind of its own. It's doing things that it's not tracking with the other one like it should. As the dog progresses, then it's like, that one hind leg will suddenly become extremely weak and eventually reach a point of paralysis. And then, at the same time, the offside hind leg will also be getting weaker, So there will be a point where, both hind legs no longer function. And at that point, it's pretty obvious you got something going on, you know.
It's got to be a heartbreaker because you really can't help them. I know that in chapter 5, you talk about a normalcy of disability. So there must be an extended period perhaps of where you're watching the degeneration, but they're still functional.
Well, so the the dog, your dog is still your dog, still happy, still wants to eat, still wants to play. They can't project ahead and know that in 2 years they're going to be completely paralyzed. I mean, so life is very interesting with the dog with this condition because it's very slow moving. I mean, for Sassy, from literally from the day that I first noticed the symptom to the day I let her go, I mean, it was 2.5 years. And so you kind of just adapt over these real slow incremental changes that happen. You just kind of keep adjusting to what your dog needs. And one of the reasons I wrote the book was that I'm on several groups on Facebook that are basically support groups for people who are coping with this. And every single person enters the group the same way, going, oh my word, I just found out my dog has DM. I'm devastated. I can't stop crying. My world's come to a screeching halt. I don't know what to do. Every single person, reacts the same way. And I reacted that way with Sassy. And in hindsight, I feel like I wasted several good months where she was still really able to walk on her own and still do things. And I was so immersed in projecting ahead, knowing that this was fatal, knowing that she was going to be fully paralyzed, that I just feel like I lost those months where she still could have conceivably been out hiking or doing, lots of fun things. And so that was part of my impetus for writing the book, was that I really wanted to, let people know that you can still have a great time with your dog. I mean, it's just like, they're not going to be paralyzed overnight. I mean, it's not like they were hit by a car. That's a very abrupt learning curve, right? You're dealing with that kind of thing. Where this is just like, and that's, where the normalcy of disability kind of comes into play. It's like, because it happens so gradually, you just adjust. You get used to it. And, and if you can just learn to kind of be in the moment and not worry so much about 6 months, 9 months down the road, or a year, or whatever, I mean, it helps you cope better with the disease.
That brings us to a point of life, is that we really only have the moment. I mean, obviously the dog, and we don't know this because we're not a dog, but the dog's just like, you live in the moment.
Right.
Dogs live in the moment. And that's our lesson.
Right.
I would think, if there was one. There is just I mean, I used to be a veterinary assistant for a short time, and I was a mess because I was way too emotionally connected. Imagine that, an Italian, too emotional. They eventually
Well,
just.
I am not Italian, and I could not be a vet tech because I'm too emotional. And
Yeah, I know you are. Your heart's enormous, and what you've done for babies like this. This book is beautiful in so
Thank
many
you.
ways. The faces of these babies just makes you fall in love with them. But it's a condition we have to deal with, and until they come up with something, whoever they are, like you said, those people that are in the front, that have the resources and the talents and the brains that are other than our competencies. So we have to depend on them, because neither one of us are big chemists. Last time I checked with you.
Right.
But our goal is to spread the word, to be observational. The earlier you catch this, the better you can help be a support to your animal, and that they're not remedies, but they're solutions until such time that they're not functional. But to make the greatest periods left in their life joyful, functional, and healthy is something that you subscribe to. So I would say, where can you get this book?
It's available on Amazon.
Okay, and the name of the book again is Another New Normal: Coping and Caring for a Dog with a Degenerative Condition. It's not just corgis, although they have that special little face. All little fur faces to me are kind of pretty cute though. And if someone wanted you to speak with them or consult with them, or even how about just your executive visionary services, which are extraordinary. There are very few people I know that you can absolutely bank on. She's going to get her done and it's going to be done right. That would be Miriam. How would the best way to reach you?
People can reach me through email. Miriam.valier@gmail.com is usually the easiest way to contact me.
Okay, and I see a little fur head there right now. Which one is that?
Oh, this would be Lennon. This is one of the snowshoe Siamese. And he's like, don't pick me up.
Don't pick me up. I was perfectly happy walking across your keyboard.
Yeah,
Well, Miriam,
that was exactly it. So
well, I know that people are going to want to reach out. Again, your executive services are exemplary. They always have been.
thank you. I appreciate
Uh,
that.
well, and you can deal with whack jobs like me who are like, oh my God, this is due tomorrow. Can you help me? I always appreciate your extra services, but I do want to say thank you for what you do for our fur babies. Love is love. It can extend globally through energy, through life, through connection. The gift of your connection to me was extraordinary to begin with, and I want to pass it on. So thanks so much for joining us, and your baby who just wants some love. Darn it, will you just give that baby some love?
Yeah.
And since you are in Utah, we know you're in Mountain Standard Time. Thank you so much for joining us. And again, if there's another evolution to this or something that's been discovered, I hope you'll join us again on the Women's Wisdom Network.
I appreciate you having me, Terry. Thank you so much.
As we say in Italian, molto piacere. This pleasure was all ours. We can't wait to share your beautiful book with others. Thanks for joining us. Be safe out there.
Thank you.